William Castle and Boeing, Renton. On the NEO, will this be integrated seat, rail, fiber optics? Will that be available like the 350 on the NEO?
So when I explain how we are using fiber optic is used for wiring of data, okay, and up to the disconnector, which is, however, for the seat supply, it's up to the IFE supplier to decide on which kind of solution they will select. So I think for IFE supplier, it's copper. I'm not an IFE specialist, but maybe you can confirm. However, of course, we are future-proofed, and if there is a new IFE supplier who would like to use the fiber optic, we can go for it for A350.
Is this sort of like the plug-and-play type of thing?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ben Brillner, Boeing. Jose, you made a comment sort of about the waste inherent to the industry. Zuzana, you talked about how standardization can be an inherently positive thing, whereas others have talked about helping stifle innovation. In your guys' vision, how do you see where we can overcome these intellectual property issues, where we can start to work together, Boeing and Airbus, Thales and Panasonic, or even some upstart startup somewhere that wants to dominate the IFE industry? How can we work together to sort of reach our collective goals while still maintaining our unique business goals that we all share?
Yeah, as I mentioned, one of the things as a suggestion was to create perhaps specific to electronics, kind of a TSO standard that would at least achieve the approval from for example, flammability, and as well it could be other attributes that we could decide as an industry with airlines that will be worthy of these attributes always have to be approved, obviously DO 160 and so forth. What I think that would do is once that article meets that minimum performance standard, then that article per se doesn't need to be reopened for certification. So I think that will cut some of the timeline. We could do similar things like that with HIC-friendly devices or combinations of systems, you know, that monitor what a particular back and as to a standard. So I think that's maybe one option. As I mentioned, the FAA is looking for us as an integrated group in the industry to show that we have a reliable process that is repeatable to develop this compliance data. Once we show that it is a reliable process, the FAA wants to only be involved with those things that are highly critical. So I think that's one thing. The other thing, through today's discussion, early on in the day, we talked about PEDs, and I think from a certification standpoint, one of the dangers that I see is that to misunderstand that moving or shifting the responsibility to devices that are not, I'm sorry, I have to use certification terms, but Part 25 certified would make things easier, because I think that as a group, what we don't want is an incident or an accident to be the cost of regulation. We want to be proactive. So one of the things that happens often with cabin interiors is that the regulation is way behind the products that we're putting in the airplanes. So some of the surprises that we have in certification are not necessarily because the regulator wants to be that roadblock, but because the regulator is faced with a question sometimes for the first time. So some of the things that we can do as an industry too is to say, if there's a pattern for a particular device, system, or technology that we want to bring on board, be more proactive to have that discussion with the regulator up front and not wait until project kick off to have that conversation for the first time. If we're going to have that conversation for the first time at a type board meeting, or in the case of a retrofit program at an ITCM, in some cases we are already behind from a timeline perspective. So I think it's the more we can discuss those kind of things, the standards, and being a little bit more proactive with discussing things with the regulators in terms of the technology that we're thinking we want to bring on the airplanes, the better off we're going to be.